So that's what programmers do. So what is IoT? This is a question. Well, all my previous presentations have started out with this question, but not today. Today I thought, okay, let's spice things up a little bit because a lot of first year and second year students are going to join us. So why not just change the question a little bit and ask something interesting? So instead, I chose, how the hell did IoT become so popular? You might have heard when we were growing up, we never heard the term of Internet of Things or IoT. But now when you join a BCA or BSc course, you hear it every day. Like people will ask, are you doing projects in IoT? Did you hear about big data? Are you doing masters in big data? All those things. So let me tell you, how did IoT become so popular? The answer to that requires a lot of research. Okay, and research is hard, as the GIF says. And me personally, I don't have much time to dedicate for that entire research. You have to go through years and years of data, how people were thinking, what they thought of the field, how they evolve into certain things. So that requires a lot of work. And honestly, I'm a programmer. That's not what I do. But don't get me wrong. If somebody did the research, somebody published the article on this, would more than happily read it and give my opinions on it. But right now, just for this presentation, will I dedicate my time? No, not really. Not really. So, so how to answer this question? It's pretty simple. Okay. I think the popularity of IoT is directly proportional to millennials. Okay, hold on. I will explain this. It will make sense in just a little while. Okay. You guys might be familiar with the meme of boomer versus millennial. That has a lot to do with this. And just give it a second, it will make all the sense which you need. Okay, for now, let's take a break from IoT and let's talk about something else. Let's talk about sci-fi movies of early 80s and 90s, the era of really, really bad CGI, like this. Okay, but that was the era of Star Wars. And I'm not talking about the prequels, which I've erased from my mind. If you get that reference, GG, you're the one person in this entire thing who got that reference. Okay, but I'm talking about the movies like Star Trek, Terminator, ET. All this came out in 90s. I can't believe it. Like Blade Runner, Back to the Future. Okay, what made these movies great? That it spawned large following of people. People where during that time didn't have a place they could belong, and united them. Okay, and the exciting gadgets of all these sci-fi movies made a really good impression on these kids. And now that these kids have grown up, but the impression has stuck in their mind, a burning passion. And we'll see later on what happens to this burning passion. Okay, so before I go further, let me just give a video demo of a retractable lightsaber done by Hacksmith. Okay, so these guys were really fan of Star Wars and they wanted to do something from that movie. So they, over a period of time, like I think 5 years, they tried to perfect the lightsaber from Star Wars. And here's what they did. I'll play the video right now. That was really beautiful. It ain't perfect, I know that, but it's something. It's a step towards right direction. Now, with this analogy, we can go even back in time. During the 60s, where a particular show was airing on BBC channel. It was none other than Doctor Who. And with this, I can even go back in time. The early sci-fi writers like H.G. Wells, Isaac Asimov, and if I may be bold enough to include H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. So how does this has anything to do with the growth of IoT? Okay. That question can be answered with another question. Why didn't anyone make any gadgets from these shows? Like it took them, the guys at Hacksmith took them around 20 years roughly to make a retractable lightsaber. The movie came out in 80s and they made it in 2020. So that's a huge time frame. Why couldn't they make an actual lightsaber during the 80s or 90s? Okay. So, and we are at a modern era where presidents of major countries shitpost on Twitter for all the nation to see. And finally, we have the people with burning passion and technology, and that gave a growth, that gave the way for a new field, and that field is none other than IoT, Internet of Things. Okay, that's how the people, those were kids during those sci-fi movies, thought, okay, let's try to make that gadgets, and now they have the technology, they have the internet to find such resources, and they put it together to make a lot of gadgets from the early movies. A lightsaber is one of the examples. If I go like, some people are trying to make how about from Back to the Future, and there is then a few other things. Okay, but I must warn you about one thing. Okay, this is just a thought experiment similar to Heisenberg's. Only difference being, if you conducted the study, you may or may not be able to prove it right. Okay, I may be wrong. So whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt. Okay, and don't quote me as a source for this. Okay, I'm not the source for anything, just for this field. Okay, and let's talk about IoT right now. I talked about sci-fi movies, gave the connection of sci-fi movies to IoT. So let's talk about what's going on with IoT right now in 2020. And frankly, I have no idea. Like I spent Saturday and Sunday researching and doing this presentation, and I couldn't envelop everything that I did research on in this 1 hour. Why is that? Because IoT is a rapidly growing field. If I see something, if I read up on something, let's say scientists were making a laser guided lightning in Australia, and tomorrow somebody else will think of that idea and will make something else. So it's a constant changing and evolving field. That's why I can't envelop everything into 1 hour, but I can do something. I can guide you to resources where you can start out from, because you need to start learning something. So let's move on. So Internet of Things. Okay, what does this entire broad term has under its wing? So I can divide this entire thing into two different components. One is hardware, another one is software. Hardware is basically whatever component you see with your physical eyes is hardware. That should be the definition. While entering a BCL level, you should know about that. Hardware and software, the difference. I'll not delve more into it. But I'll give a textbook definition, kind of textbook definition. Hardware is essentially is a device where you feed data into your software, which will do all the processing with lot of variables and give you an answer in one word. Okay, I don't need you to by this. Okay, there is no exam, nothing. Chill out. Okay. It is a bit confusing. For me, it makes sense because I have worked with hardware and software, so I know what this means. But for you, it might be a bit confusing. So hence, I'll give you an example. I'm pulling out my phone. All the headphone users, it's a warning to you. Lower the volume or remove the headphones. Alexa, play Heaviest Matter of the Universe by Gojira.
Playing the heaviest matter of the universe from your library on Amazon Music.
So that was one of my favorite metal bands, Gojira. And what happened here? You can guess. It is voice command activation of something. So it is an IoT based project or a product. I I commanded into a microphone of my phone, which later on sent to a software. In this case, it was Amazon Music. It processed and gave me the result by playing the song which I requested. Okay, it looks really simple, but behind the scenes, it is a bit complicated. So that's my first suggestion for you. Instead of directly jumping into IoT with complex projects, like image processing, like keeping a camera and identifying yourself, that is way too much. Instead of that, try to focus on small things. Start out with small things. Okay, that way you will build up the courage to go pursue further in IoT instead of directly jumping into the massive projects. So, and here's the point I mentioned. I note this down, okay, in my notes. So don't overcomplicate anything. Try to simplify anything that is overcomplicated. This is my first suggestion, which I took personally, and I still take it. If I have a project, okay, if somebody asks me work on this project, first I sit down for at least 3 to 4 days, think of that project, and I will think how to minimize it, how to minimize the entire big functions and narrow it down into smaller chunks so that for me as a developer the work becomes easier. That's what I want you guys to do as well. Okay, because at the end of the day, everybody wants their project to be successful, and if you work on something for hundreds and thousands of hours and at the end of the day it is not successful, it is like really a bummer. So I suggest do simpler projects, get motivated, and carry on in that way. So I talked more a lot of about this thing, voice command activation. So let me just go on a bit of tangent and talk about open source software. Okay. If you want to move forward in IoT, there are two fields, as I mentioned, hardware and software. Okay. It's up to you which sector you want to focus on, hardware or software. I personally chose hardware because I love hardware. Okay. Is it hard? Yeah. I love hardware. I love to tinker with a lot of electronics. I love to build certain things. Even the webcam, which right now it is positioned, I built a stand for this using old plywood because I love to build some certain kind of things because it's relaxing for me. But here's a big flaw. If I'm focusing my 100% of time in hardware, what will happen to software? You have to dedicate 50% and 50% of your time developing both. That's what IoT is. So now what to do? You focus your time entirely on hardware. That's where open source software comes into rescue. Okay. So to go further, let me just ask you a few questions. So have you guys ever used pirated software? Have you heard about open source softwares? If yes, are you using open source software? Let me just pull up the chat menu. Okay. So you can just post it in the chat. So just to get an idea about the people, those who are familiar with the open source software and the people, those who are using pirated softwares. I'll just give a few, 1 or 2 minutes for people to post it and for me to get an idea about different ideas and opinions of people. Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, heard of open source software. Okay. Yes to all three. Ubuntu. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, that says a lot. Like everybody, almost everybody is like, almost everybody is like agreeing to. They have used pirated softwares and they have learned about open source software. Free is better than paying. Okay, that is a good opinion. Okay. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. So I'm getting an idea about the people who I'm working with. Okay, so even I used to use pirated softwares. Okay, but when I heard about open source softwares and its potential and its community, I thought, okay, why do I have to stick to pirating software? Instead, I can migrate to open source software and contribute to the community. Popular pirated softwares may be like Windows Windows 10, one of the key major operating systems where almost everybody pirates it. Then next is Microsoft Office, then Photoshop or Premiere Pro or After Effects, or most popularly video games. The most of my friends have pirated video games throughout their life. They have never purchased a video game. But right now, I don't do that because I don't have time to play video games, first of all. Then, if I have, I would like to purchase and contribute to the developers instead of pirating it. So let me digress and let me go back to the open source field. Okay, the popular one you might have heard and I've seen in the comments is Linux. Okay, I am a full-time Linux user. I have migrated completely from Windows. I don't use Windows right now. For the past I would say 5 months. 5 months I completely migrated all my softwares to open source softwares, and I'm using Linux as my primary operating system. And if I need anything done on Windows, I just spin up a VM and do it there. Okay. Why? Okay. So that was about open source software, and popular one is Linux. If you are not familiar with Linux and don't know what is Linux, you'll come to know because as a BCA students, you will have one subject on operating systems and Linux. And in labs, you'll be using Linux for compiling C programs, I think, if nothing is changed. So let me give you open source 101. If you don't know what open source software is, it is software with source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. And if you don't know what source code is, it is a part of the software that most computer users don't ever see. It's a code computer programmers can manipulate to change how a piece of software or a program or an application works. It is, yeah, this is like a textbook definition. Yes, frankly speaking, I care less about this stuff. And let me introduce more about who created this concept. So it was created by Richard Stallman, and this is him. Truly amazing beard. I wish I had that beard and long hair. Yeah, amazing. So this guy thought this was during the early 80s. This guy thought, okay, there are a lot of softwares which are like company make it, license it, and never give it for the users. They sell it but never give it for free. So this guy created something called as GPL, General Purpose Licensing, where you can publish the code online, where anybody can see, edit, modify, do anything they want, and without any repercussions from the creator. So this guy created GPL. From there, the term open source software, free software came into play, and now it is like really popular. Because of this guy, Linus Torvalds, the creator of Linux, picked up the Linux, and Linux became so popular just because of open source software. Let me explain open source in layman terms. Can be published by anybody for free. Okay, and you can download it for free, use it for free, sell it for free, not for free, but you can sell it for a price. But the creator, you don't have to pay any royalties or copyright to the creator because it's open source. Not only that, this is why I love open source, because of the second point. If you make any changes to the software, imagine I downloaded a software and I made changes such that it will function on my hardware. Okay, I can publish that to the creator. I can send that code to the creator and tell, okay, you had this and this wasn't working on my PC, I made these changes and now it is working. So yeah, the creator can look at it. If it's like significant amount of changes, he can add it to the main software and you will be a contributor to that project. That is a huge recognition in software development industry, getting a recognition by contributing to open source software. All the major companies like Facebook, Google, Netflix, they want such people to contribute to open source, because that way they can inspect your code and get to know that, okay, you are a good developer. You can do something to the existing software. So let me come back. And with this, I'm going on to the next topic of open source software. How does it come into play with everything? So, as I told before, I build the hardware, but I don't have the software to work with. And the software here, it is provided by open source community. So one of the examples I want to give is Arduino. You might have heard what is Arduino, okay? But I'll just give a brief introduction. It's a massive foundation who provide IDE to program integrated circuits and microcontrollers. Okay, so let me just share the screen of my desktop. One second. Stop sharing. Okay, is the screen visible? Okay, so I was talking about Arduino. Everybody can see, right? Just unmute and tell me. I'm not looking at the chat right now. Anybody? One second. Let me... Okay, yeah, it is visible. So this is Arduino. As you can see, it looks like a normal editor like you have used in the past, like Notepad++ or VS Code or VS Studio, everything. Uh, so it has like file, edit, sketch option, all those things. And the particular thing that is interesting is void setup and void loop. The, the entire thing you have to program in C language, like classic C, nothing add on, nothing. Only difference is there is no void main. If you're not familiar with C programming, it becomes a bit difficult, but getting used to this is a lot more easier than learning C traditional in a traditional way. Okay. So I will not delve much deep into this and explain all the aspects of Arduino and programming Arduino and everything. Okay. I'm merely talking about softwares which are available to guide you. Okay. So with this, you can write programs here. As I wrote here, printf, this will work. You can compile the programs. So if I compile it, compiling done, and it will show if I made any error. So let me just remove the semicolon and compile it again. So as you see, I get an error that semicolon is missing. Similarly, this. So let me recompile it. And all the traditional, this thing works here. Like for loop works, if I can type properly. And I equal to 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. All these things work. Even if conditions, while condition, everything works. Nothing difficult with that. Okay. Not only that, it adds a lot more functionality, like controlling a lot of pins in Arduino and everything. I will not delve much deep into it. I'm just giving a
Herald,
brief introduction for you.
Herald, sorry for
Yes, sir.
disturbing.
Yes, sir.
Your desktop is visible.
Desktop is visible, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see the screen, right? The void setup, void loop.
No, no, it's not visible.
Oh, it is not visible. Okay, one second, one second. Let me just share it again. I thought, okay, now it is visible.
Yes, Herald.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Let me just, I was explaining to blank. Okay. So let me just, as I told before, like printf, for loops, all these are working. No worries at all. Okay. As you can see here. So it has file, edit, sketch, tool, everything. And compiling is done through this. Okay. The only difference with this and your normal C is that this is not this doesn't compile into a normal C compiling file. Okay, what I mean by that, this compiles the entire C program into a binary file. Okay, and binary file you can upload into any microcontrollers and any processors and everything. Okay, because of this is much more powerful than your traditional C, because with this you can interact with your hardware, send programs to your hardware with ease. Okay, so what kind of hardware I'm talking about? If you come to tools, board, and see here, these are all the hardware provided by Arduino Foundation. They provide all this for a decent cost. Like everything is mostly affordable, like 200, 300 rupees. So you can purchase this and program it using this IDE. The IDE is available for both all the operating systems like Windows, Mac, and Linux. I think Mac, I'm not really sure, but Windows and Linux, it is available. So you can download and learn it on your own. Not only that, this also has a find reference and getting started. So everything, all the things you want to learn about programming, Arduino and everything, it is pre-included in this itself. If you are finding difficulty, of course you can find resources, other resources, which I'm going to point to you later on at the end of this session. So everything is here. You can look up what does void do, what does setup do, setup keyword. Each and everything that is included in this, you can see and know more about it. So let me just come back to the slide. If I, yes, here. Okay, so present. So after Arduino, so Arduino will become a local thing. Like if you want to upload the code to your hardware and interact in that way, Arduino is helpful. But what about if you want to send the code to a server? Imagine you are a server, and how will you set up that? How will you set up the entire software in such a way that it will accept the data from your hardware, do the processing and everything? At that time, there's something called as Thingsboard. Even this is an open source software where you can run it on your own server without paying anything, completely for free. Only thing you have to manage is the server hosting cost. That is around $5 to $6 if you're ready to pay that. And for the project you're working on, depends on the project, it will be worth. Just for $5, you'll get the software as well as the entire server for yourself. So what is Thingsboard? Thingsboard is a IoT management system where it has tools like data management, data processing, and visualization. Let me just exit this. Uh, Sir, can you see my entire screen, my web browser? Okay. Can anybody give the confirmation that they can see the? Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, so this is the Thingsboard demo site. You can see this, right? Yes, thank you. So here, as you can see, there are a lot of options here, like rules management, customer management, asset management, device management, entity view management, dashboard management, audit. So this becomes overwhelming in the beginning, but let me walk you through each and everything. Okay, let's start with dashboards. Okay, what does this include? All the devices which you add get added to here. Here you can view all the devices individually. For example, if I have set up a temperature sensor at my place, at my home, and I want to see what is the temperature of my room. So I can just pull this up, go to dashboard, and see my entire room temperature over here. So this is a demo site, like demo site, I can't connect my device to this. I'm just showing the demo. Not only that, you can see the graph. This is a real-time updating graph where the entire variation of temperature will be plotted. So and also the average temperature will be noted down below. This is a really cool like piece of software which is available for completely free. You can download this from Thingsboard website, thingsboard.io, and host it on your own server completely for free. Nothing, no overhead cost, nothing. And it has a lot of functionalities. Not only the temperatures, you can see the graphics over here, the temperature difference and everything. Not only that, I'll come to the GPS. So this has another unique feature of showing the GPS devices on a map. So let me just pull up this. So I don't have a device right now plugged into this, but all the devices will come here. As this is a demo by Thingsboard website, so it is just for development purpose only. They don't have a proper API key for using Google Maps here. Not only that, you can pass the battery level to this and it will display the battery level. Not only that, there is a Raspberry Pi control as well. I will come to this bit later because I have a entire section on addressing Raspberry Pis. So let me just move on here and continue with the presentation. Okay. So one second, let me just make sure it is proper. Yes. Okay. So after this, you might be wondering how the data is sent from the hardware to software. Okay, that might be a burning question. That is pretty simple. One way you can do is, as I told before, locally using USB connection. Like you can physically plug a device into the computer and send the data to the computer. Then all the processing happens in the computer. That you don't care. You don't care about the processing part. You only care about how to send the data to the software. Okay, software, everything is managed by open source. You got the software. Now you need a way to send it. USB is one of them, but USB can't use everywhere. Imagine if you want to deploy the IoT device somewhere, let's say in Kashmir, okay, and you are in Bangalore. How will you get the data? You can do cloud processing using APIs. Okay, API stand for Application Programming Interface. Okay, and it's truly a magical world of APIs. Let me just give a brief introduction of what is API. Okay, APIs are like pigeons of the internet. Just hear me out. Okay, this will make sense in just few moments. Okay. Pigeons were in ancient time were used as message carriers from point A to B. Okay, and when a pigeon reaches its destination, you are pretty sure that the message is secured. Nobody else has intercepted the message and sent a fake message. Okay, uh, you might be asking, like, somebody could have done that. Yeah, well, for this case and for this example, I'm gonna ignore it. But don't get me wrong, the idea about pigeons killing each other, intercepting the messages, replacing the actual pigeon with the fake message, it's really interesting idea for a movie, coincidentally named Spy Pigeons. Okay, but I digress. So APIs are like modern day pigeons, as I told before. Imagine if you want to send the data from Tokyo to Saitama. Okay, why did I choose a map of Tokyo? Because everybody uses India for this thing, what representing direction. I thought, why not just change things up and use a different map altogether. So imagine if you want to send the data from Tokyo to Saitama. Okay, I'm talking in terms of roads, not via internet. Okay, if you want to send, you can go via one route which is around 29 kilometers, or another route which is 38 kilometers. Only difference is the time variation. One will take 29 minutes, one will take 37 minutes. The difference in speed. Okay, that is not the case for APIs. As I told before, from point A to point B, and I don't care at what time it reaches. I just need the data to reach there. Okay, that's what is magical about APIs. APIs will not know what is in the message at all. It only knows where it is coming from and where it is going. That's why it is completely secure to a certain point until a killer pigeon intercepts it and replaces it with a fake pigeon. Until then, APIs are secure. So now you have APIs to send the data. Okay. Finally, you have sent everything. Everything is ready. Now let's come back to the hardware part, which is my favorite, and talk about a little bit of hardware. Okay. One particular piece of hardware which I love and I highly recommend you guys to start out with is Raspberry Pi. Oh, excuse me, chef. Wrong pie. I meant Raspberry Pi, not the eating pie. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Sorry, my chef did a mistake over here. So I'm talking about Raspberry Pi, which is this. If this is weaving properly, one second. Let me just bring a little bit of light over here. Okay. So this is the Raspberry Pi I'm talking about. A really magical piece of equipment, and this was developed using the same idea about don't overcomplicate things, begin out with simple steps, and keep on building and improving on it. Okay, So let me talk what makes this good. What features does it have? Okay. So what does it have? Pins for connecting other sensors. Check. USB connections for connecting USB cables, pen drives. Check. To connect to the internet via Ethernet cable if Wi-Fi is not there. Check. Wi-Fi if Ethernet is not there. Check. Enough horsepower to win a competition against a horse. Check. Basically, it's a jack of all trades and master of everything. It depends. Again, terms and conditions apply over here. Jack of all trades, yes. Master of everything depends on you. If you are master of everything, Raspberry Pi is master of everything. If you are master of none, Raspberry Pi is master of none. That's the beauty of the entire hardware. If you program it correctly, it will work, or else it won't. Okay. And another thing I like is the cherry on top of cherries is it runs on open source software. And in this case, it runs on a distro of Ubuntu called Raspbian. Okay. And it is really, really amazing. Okay. I'll give you a demo of Raspbian in a short while. So if you are familiar with Ubuntu, getting familiar with Raspbian is not issue at all. Also, they bundle a lot of free software, open source software with this Raspbian. For example, Wolfram MATLAB. So it is freely bundled with this. You can use it for any research project completely for free. No overhead cost at all. The open source Office like LibreOffice, it is included, pre-included. Not only that, VLC and other things. And there are a lot of games you can play with this as well. Okay. And as I'm a Linux advocate and I love Linux, so I prefer this. So let me just give you a demo about Raspbian. So 1 second, let me just. Okay. Hope you guys can see the screen. So with this, I'm running Raspberry Pi on my PC through VM, virtual machine. And I'll show you what exactly it can do, everything. Okay. So boot times are really short, no issues at all. So this is Raspbian. It has entire desktop interface. If you're familiar with Ubuntu, you can use this, no issues at all. It has terminal, everything works, ls-l works. Then PWD works. Okay, no issues in that regard. And let's see what tools does this pre-include. So it includes a Java IDE, building Java applications, lot of IDEs. Not only that, emulator for these pins. 1 second. These pins, and for education purposes, Smart Sim. It is like a simulator for Raspberry Pi. Office, it has LibreOffice, like writer for editing documents. For PPTs, it is Impress. For Excel, it is Math. Internet, it runs on Chromium, open source web browser. If you didn't know, this is like for your information. Chrome is an copy of Chromium. Chromium is the open source web browser. That's why Chrome became more popular. Moving on, it has VLC player to play videos and everything. Image viewer for games. It has one of my favorite games, Boing. Like as a kid, I used to play a lot on my. I think I'm not really good at this game. It's my favorite game. That's all. Apart from that, accessories. It has your normal whatever accessories you are available in Windows. This has calculator, archiver, file manager, PDF viewer, task manager. If I go to task manager, you can see I have given this 4 GB of RAM, and it is using barely any of it. If this was Windows, this would easily come up to like 1.5, 1.6 GB. So that's what, even CPU usage is like bare minimum with Chromium running. So that's why I love building applications, building hardware with Raspberry Pi. It is a lot more easier than anything. Let me just come back to the PPT. One second, just give me a minute. Okay. Uh, oh, am I audible?
Yes, sir. All you are audible, but only thing is the
The
screen got
application has
stuck. Yeah.
froze.
Yeah.
The Zoom application has froze. I can't
Okay.
really control anything.
Bye.
Just 1 minute. Sir, I'll just rejoin it. 1 second. The
Okay.
entire application has froze. I
Yeah.
can't control anything right now.
No problem.
Okay. 1 second. Yes.
Participants, sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, now it is
Get back
proper,
to you
sir.
shortly.
Now can you, sir, can you see it now?
Yes, sir. All.
Okay, yes, sir. Sorry about that. Okay. So I was talking about open source and everything. So let me just come back and little bit of reflection. So first advice is don't overcomplicate things. Keep it simple, and internet has answers if you're patient enough to find it. Okay. With that, let's look some cool stuff on the internet. Like I love hardware, and I love to share about different pieces of hardware which people have made and shared it with the community. So one of the places where you can share your open source code and projects is called GitHub. I think you're familiar with GitHub. So here people have published a lot of things, okay, and I want to highlight few of it. One of it is an open source mouse. Why I'm showing you mouse? It's like one of the cheapest thing you can buy. You can get it for practically for like 100 rupees or something. And I'm not talking about this mouse. Okay, this is a mouse where you can build it for yourself. Everything, all the plans, all the PCB designs are available openly. You can download it, slap the integrated IC on it, and build it on your own. Why I recommend this? Because with this you're learning about something called as HID. Okay, I bet everybody is familiar with HID and nobody knows what it is. HID stands for Human Interface Devices. Basically, in layman terms, it means anything that you input into the computer. Example, mouse, keyboard. There is lot of things going on behind the scenes. Okay, imagine this: you have like 100 keys in your keyboard, and by pressing one, only using 4 cables, the data is transmitted into your PC. How does that happen? If you want to learn more about it, you can use HID, this piece of open source project, to learn more about it. Not only that, you can create some macro keys. Okay, by pressing one button, you can open up Chrome or start playing a YouTube video or roll anybody. So with this, the possibilities are endless. And as a starting out project, this is like one of the really good ones. Okay, so after this, next one I'd like to highlight is something called as Poseidon. So Poseidon is bioinstrumentation. Let me just show you this. This is a device where you can input precise amount of some substance into a patient. It's basically a syringe pump, And I want to confess something. I'm 23, 24 years old, and I'm really afraid of syringes. And this is really disturbing for me. Okay. But a concept based on this is really interesting. Like, I love it and hate it at the same time. And throughout this thing, you're gonna find certain things like you're gonna love it, but hate it as well. Okay. And the best part about this is if you look at any medical instrument, nothing costs cheap. Let's say a surgery robot, it costs like 100 to $200,000. $200,000. Okay, that ranges from around like under 1 crore or something, Indian rupees, something like that. It is really, really expensive. But here, what people have done, they have designed this in such a way that it costs just under $400. And the entire plans are open source. It is available for anybody to see, do it, and sell it. So with this, you can contribute back to the medical community as a part of the open source community. So that is one of the best things I found in open source and IoT as well. You can do a lot of projects dedicated for medical communities, like improving their medical instrumentation using IoT. Okay, and it's not that difficult if you have enough time to dedicate to the research, narrowing down all the parts, 3D printing and everything. You can do it. And on the topic of 3D printing, this is something I want to highlight. This is nothing related to IoT. It is just a dragon armor helmet where entire thing is printed using 3D printers. And you can download this and print it for yourself and wear it. It's like one of the cool, it gives me Power Rangers vibe. So yeah, that's just a highlight. So with this, next one I'm going to talk about is ESP IoT dimmer. So this is similar to the Philips, the dimming lights, the RGB dimming lights. I'm not really sure about the product name, what they market it as. Basically, you can design that for cheaper than what it cost, just using this device. And all the plans are completely available for free. And the one last thing I'm going to highlight is, let me just find it. Okay, here. So during these tough times of the pandemic, there was a lot of shortage of ventilators. Like a lot of people have died. You might or may not know about of these people, but there was a crisis for medical instruments during this time. And people, like around 8 months ago, published this. This is a DIY ventilator that anybody can look up the plans and make it. You only thing that you require is sketch it out, cut it, assemble the components, and you have a ventilator. And the cost of this is a lot cheaper than whatever they are getting, and this is a lot faster to assemble. This is not perfect. I'm not telling that this will compete against the ventilators developed by Mahindra and everything, but this is something for the people. Those are absolutely no way of surviving, a last hope. Okay, I encourage you guys, if you are interested in this, look up the plans on this project under project dash DIY dash ventilator. Look it up, try to make it on your own. Everything is available here, like the code used, where you purchase this AMBU bag, everything. Okay, so that's why I love about open source community, because if there is any problem in the world, they will get together and design a solution which is completely for free for the public to use. And many people join together to do this. And with this, I'm taking Q&A. If you have any questions, just post it in the chat. Or I think, yeah, somebody answered, Philips Hue, yes. Just post it in the chat, or somebody can unmute you and you can talk to me. Around 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
So participants, if you have any queries or questions to ask, use the chat box.
Okay, explain more about Raspberry Pi. Okay, so basically what Raspberry Pi is, it was created by one guy who had thought of an idea how to make something for the creators, like enthusiasts like myself, but keep the cost less. So over the period of time, he developed this. So this has around this is the Raspberry Pi 3 I have with me. This has around 1 GB of RAM. The processor is okay, and a lot of outputs, like if you can see this, if the video is visible properly. So USB outputs, Ethernet, and everything. And also, not only that, you can connect touchscreen devices for this, to use it as a portable tablet, and cameras. And this is something that most modern phones don't have. That is a headphone jack, which is like, I'm an old school guy, so I like devices with a headphone jack. Okay, so there is another question: how does it work as a compact computer? Yes, it works as a compact computer. One of my friends, during the Aloysius imprints event, he made a demo of how to use the Raspberry Pi as a compact computer for a day-to-day activities. Like, all your PCs in your lab can be replaced with a Raspberry Pi. Okay. Only problem we'll run into is this doesn't have a lot of processing powers for some of the projects to run. That's the only issue. To get started with the IoT, what is the minimum hardware requirement required? So again, it depends. So if you're from a background of computer science, a lot of programming languages and everything, I would recommend going into Raspberry Pi, because this is easy to program using Python. And if you're familiar with the Python already, this doesn't have much impact on it. But if you're coming from a hardware background, I would recommend going via Arduino route. That way, you can tinker a lot about it and learn how to program, how to learn how to do programming and that route. So, okay, good guide or website. Okay, one of the best guides I found out is Arduino itself. On their website, they have published everything in lot detail. So let me just go to their site, arduino.cc. If this comes up, okay. So here itself, they have given a lot of guides, lot of this thing like documentation and tutorials. Everything what I told is detailed over here. How to connect your this Arduino IDE to the hardware, everything. Okay, and can you say how to start into IoT? Any online platform, especially for beginners? Okay, similar to this thing what I mentioned about Arduino. It is one of the best platforms you can get into IoT with this. Start learning about hardware, how hardware works using these guides, and later on you can go with Raspberry Pi and different things. Is Manjaro good OS to migrate from Windows 10? Yes, I use Manjaro as my daily driver, and I tell yes, it is. What's the basic use of Raspberry Pi? People use it differently. Like most of them use it as their personal computers, especially in airports. If you see in airport, like not in Indian airports, like in Amsterdam, I know this for the fact that in Amsterdam, all the TVs on the airports are connected to the Raspberry Pis, which are connected to a Wi-Fi network, and all the things that you see on the TVs is displayed through that. Okay, so that is one of the basic use. Another use, you as a student, you can use it as, if you don't have a laptop or don't have enough money or financial support to purchase a laptop, you can purchase this for 5,000 Indian rupees plus the GST tax, whatever, how much ever it is. Then a monitor, keyboard and mouse, finished. You have a working computer. What is your favorite open source software that can be used on Windows 2 without needing too much technical know-how? I'm not a computer science student, but would like to learn a bit. Okay, my favorite open source software is, that is a bit hard to say, but I'll go with Kden Live. Kden Live is alternative to Premiere Pro, so you can do all the video editing stuff and everything. In my free time, I like to do a little bit of video editing, like know how to do it and all. and also Audacity to edit audio stuff. Like previously, I love music and editing and all. It's really fun stuff. So check out Caden Live and Audacity. Raspberry Pi is web. Um, okay, I don't know like how to answer that. Like, are you talking about like I don't know how to interpret that. Could you please elaborate that? Which is Ethernet? Which is Ethernet? Which you said? Okay, Ethernet is this like the Ethernet cable to plug it in. Okay, that is. Some people I see are raising their hands. Like, just type it in the chat. I would just answer it one by one. How do you get started with hardware? Uh, Depends. Are you a computer science student, like existing computer science student, and you know a lot about hardware? Then the best way is to get into Raspberry Pi. Okay, because you know a lot about how to use Linux operating system and everything. With that knowledge, you can easily get started with IoT. But if you don't know anything about computers or anything about a Raspberry Pi at all, or even programming, I suggest getting into Arduino. From this guide, go to arduino.cc and the tutorials are here. From this, you can learn it. If I would like to learn to program an Arduino board, what would be an ideal language to learn to code it? Okay, and as an optional question, what metal bands do you listen to? Okay, first I'll answer the first question. Okay, the primary language used by Arduino IDE is C, the basic C. So compared to your traditional C, it is a lot more easier and has a lot more, I would say, custom languages like to control individual pins. That way, you can get to know how to program efficiently as well as build something connected to IoT. And to answer your second question, what are my favorite metal bands which I listen to? System of a Down, Gojira, Meshuggah, all those things. Yeah. IoT devices gonna get more importance in the future. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Like like Samsung is pushing heavily on their smart refrigerators, smart microwaves, where you can watch entire movies on the entire refrigeration screen on your microwave screen and everything. Like last month, there was one guy who was successful into porting the game Doom from 1997 into like Samsung smart refrigerator. So people were making memes on you can sit in front of a refrigerator, eat, drink, and play video games. How is the translation from Windows to Linux? It has been really good. The performance has been really great, and I'm just loving it. Okay, compared to Windows, Windows is like just dreadful for me right now. What is Raspberry? But is Raspberry Pi good on website? Yes, 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 yes. That's what you meant. If you go to Raspberry Pi .org. Wait, let me just go to this. Okay. So here they've just released a new hardware called Raspberry Pi 400, which is like a compact keyboard where you can plug your monitor and everything. So with this, you can use it as your normal PC. And they are pushing heavily for that compact PC design. Is there any educational course dedicated to IoT in India? Yes, there is. I'm doing masters in information science in MIT in Manipal. So they have recently introduced a lot of course like doing masters in IoT. Not only that, in hardware as well, machine learning, and a lot of aspects. So there, I feel like I know a bit of lecturers who are teaching IoT over there, and I recommend if you're going to IoT, I recommend going to Manipal because it is like nearby, and that's my recommendation. That's all. Uh, how do I switch from Windows to Linux? Okay, if you're not familiar with Linux at all, I suggest learning Linux using VM, then completely erasing your like hard drive and installing Linux. Yeah, somebody is like, hi guys. Yeah, hello. Yeah, any other questions? Like all the questions have been really interesting and a lot of spectrum. Yeah.
Uh, Errol?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you have answered many questions.
Yes, sir.
Almost all the questions you have answered.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
According to my analysis, I was a part of more than 200 webinars which are organized by the college, and this is the one where people have asked plenty number of questions, and being a resource person, answered all the questions without leaving not even a single one.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you,
so
sir.
thank you so much for that, and spending your valuable time, even though you are having practicals at this afternoon, and you have spent your valuable time with us. So thank you so much, Errol. Now I'll call upon a faculty. Hello, yeah, the faculty, Mr. Praveen, to say a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. The roots of all goodness lie in the soil of appreciation. Let me take this opportunity to thank the people who have worked behind the success of this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank our beloved principal, Reverend Dr. Praveen Martis SJ, for his support and encouragement in our each and every activity. Thank you, Father. This is, a, this is my immense pleasure to thank today's resource person, Mr. Errol Joshua D'Souza, for taking the participants into the world of IoT enthusiasm. I'm proud to say that Errol is our old alumni. Errol, I'm sure that the spark of your task will surely ignite the interest of the participants and help them to get into the world of IoT. On behalf of the management and Department of Computer Science, Application and Animation, I would like to thank Mr. Joshua again for spending his valuable time and knowledge with us. Thank you very much, Joshua. I thank our Dean, Dr. Ravindra Swamy, and HODs, Ms. Shilpa Shetty and Ms. Prafulla, and all my colleagues for their support in organizing the seminar. Thank you. There are more than 220 participants in this webinar, not only from our college, but also from the colleges in and around the Mangalore. They have participated in the webinar. Dear sirs and madams and students, I would like to express my wholehearted gratitude to you for encouraging us by participating in this webinar. I'm sure that you are really benefited from this webinar. A special thanks to Mr. Royal Praveen D'Souza for coordinating this seminar. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
So thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. So the feedback link and certificate link is sent in the chat box. So you can fill the link here, and within 48 hours, you'll be getting the participation certificate. So once again, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. We promise that even in the future also, we are going to conduct this webinar, and we expect you to take part actively in this kind of webinars. So thank you one and all.